Welcome to today's message as I share about taking responsibility of our action, or else seeing the result before the action. Taking the responsibility of our action means, first of all, thinking even before acting. There is an old adage that used to go like, think before you leap. In the book of Proverbs 3 and verse number 5, the Bible says, trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In the book of Isaiah 46 and verse number 10, the Bible says, I the Lord declare the end from the beginning, and the ancient times from what is still to come. It is our God who sees the result of the ending before he even starts. It is time to reason that before he created the universe, he had seen its outcome even before he started. And that is very important. We as human beings, for every actions that we are committed to doing, we first of all think critically of the results that we are expecting from. For not thinking of the results, even before acting, some people have ended up miserable life, and even up to today regretting into some of the actions they engaged into. Whereas if only they had assessed the results, then they could not have committed the actions. Most of the problems, the crimes, the depressions, the killings that are happening, the outbreaks, the ailments are because sometimes we act without thinking. If before stealing, the robber thought that the consequences after being caught, maybe he couldn't have engaged in that robbery act. If before beating, killing, or harming a person, you thought of the consequences and the guilty conscience, then some people couldn't be dead today. If before engaging in infidelity cases, you thought of the consequences after being caught by your partner, then you couldn't have engaged into them. If as a student you thought of the consequences of indulging into drugs and the sexual indulgences, then you couldn't have engaged into them. In life we are living in, people are sick, some people are in prison, and yet others are in grave. Some others, they are paralyzed. Others are living with a guilty conscience because if only they had seen the result of their actions, they couldn't have involved themselves. What motivates an athlete or people in sports is imagining of the reward that awaits them. Every day you are faced with the decisions, and you got to remember that every decision and every action you do today has consequences. Decision to commit abortion, decision of infidelity, decision to kill, to rob, to work in corrupt ways, to turn away even from God, it will have consequences. The question is, are you ready to accept the consequences of your actions? If Eve had thought of the consequences of eating the forbidden fruit, she could have not listened to the enemy. Many of us, for not thinking of the consequences before acting, have ended up into pitfalls that almost cost our lives. Our God is faithful and is a God of another chance by forgiving us. But one thing God will never do is He does not take away the consequences of our actions. For example, if a thief is cut off the hand during the robbery and later gets born again, he or she will live with the reality of one hand. God forgave him, but God never took away the reality of living with one hand. So forgiveness is only there to allow us a second chance of living again, but the forgiveness never takes away the consequences that resulted from the actions that we are engaged and committed to doing. One person told me that never ever give up excuses for the actions you committed to do. And that is the point with many of us. We are full of excuses, we are full of blame, that we are blaming other people for the actions we ourselves are committed to do. When asked by God who told them that they were naked, Adam and Eve began blaming one another and giving excuses. Are you that today, that the consequences emanating from your actions, you blame others, you accuse others, and you even give excuses? If you don't want that, then learn to ponder clearly before taking or acting in any way. Judas acted without thinking. Later he hanged himself. He thought that it was only about money. He never thought where the consequences resulting from his action of betraying Jesus could lead him. Inside of you there is a voice that cries out loudly when you are about to do anything, and every person is that way. It distinguishes evil from good, and every time you want to commit any action, that voice screams loudly. But some of us, we have ended up sharing our conscience. We have ignored this voice very many times, that even sometimes when you're about to do a thing, we cannot even ponder or think twice. Some other people consistently ignore this voice and doing what pleases them, and others, they do against their inner peace, have ended up in shed. They have ended up killing their conscience, and those are the people who can kill and not even feel anything at all. I beseech you today, don't kill your conscience. Live with the reality that every action and every decision you make today, they will have imminent consequences. The question is, are you willing to accept the consequences of the actions that you're committed to do? Even as you are listening to me at this moment, maybe there are some actions you want to commit. There are some decisions you want to make. I beseech you, sit down and ponder and reason and even think, am I going to accept the consequences that will emanate from the actions that I want to do? That way you're going to live a peaceful life, you're going to live a better life, and even a fulfilled life. Ericho Kiogora, Shalom. God bless you.